So is God just if we are born into a system without our consent that only has two options for where we're going to end up? Is that really fair? This is what we're going to be talking about in our video today. And this actually came in while I was doing an evangelism Zoom training with a college campus ministry where we were going over the book Tactics by Greg Koukl, learning how to ask good questions and have good conversations on the campus ministry. And by the way, on July 10, Greg Koukl is going to be coming on my YouTube channel, the live show, to discuss his newest edition, the 10th anniversary edition of Tactics. So make sure you check that out. But as this question came in and as I responded to it, I've been thinking about it the last few days. And I want to share kind of my quick response that day that I gave to the students, but also some reflection that I've had since then. So initially when the student asked this question, he presented the example of it's like taking a 100-question final exam or a 90-question final exam. They both kind of suck. We're kind of stuck in this bad system. And so my initial response was, I don't think that is a correct example. I don't think that fairly treats the choices that we've been given. We have a choice between eternal separation and punishment and eternal joy and happiness in the presence of God. The worst possible thing and the best possible thing. It's not two bad options. We have the greatest possible option given to us, which is a free gift of eternal salvation compared to eternal separation from God. And with this, I don't think that we're mad that we don't have consent in this option, because there are a lot of examples in our life where we don't have the option, where an authority tells us this is what you have, or these are your two options. Think about a parent who says you have to eat your vegetables, carrots or broccoli. We go, no, they both suck. But no, when one option that the authority is giving you is the best possible option you could possibly ever imagine, then we don't complain that we only have two options. It's like the bank saying, hey, I'm going to either take away your house or I'm going to give you $1 million. We don't go, why only two choices? We go, oh my goodness, amazing, $1 million, right? We don't get mad about that. But since then, I've actually taken a step back and I've reflected on the worldview issues behind this. And I think the biggest issue there is the first part of how is God just if we're born without our consent? As if consent is kind of the standard by which we judge all things. And I see that happening in classrooms as we talk about even the topic of sexuality. When is it okay? And as long as you have two consenting adults, it's fine, right? Well, what if the two consenting adults and one of them is married and they're committing adultery? Or what if they're two consenting adults and they want to have sex, but they're brother and sister? I think a lot of time we would still say, whoa, that would be wrong, right? That's still wrong. Even though they're consenting, consent is not the standard. But I think that we as even Christians sometimes get this idea because the secular view of ethics is kind of this idea of personal autonomy, that we should be able to do whatever we want as long as we don't hurt anyone. And you hear this all the time. We should have ultimate freedom as long as you don't hurt anyone. As long as you have their consent, everything is good. And this kind of becomes our standard. This is not, though, the Christian standard. The Christian standard of ethics is grounded in the nature of God to love our neighbor and love God. That is the standard that we are to live by. It's not, do we just have consent? And so God is the standard of morality. He has created us. He has given us this system. This is the best possible option for us, and we trust him in that rather than getting mad that I didn't have some other choice. It's also interesting wanting this idea of I should consent to my own birth. Well, to consent to your own birth, you have to be born. So then do you want to consent to be able to consent to the birth that you want to have? And then you can just keep chasing that back forever. There are tons of questions in this life. There are tons of issues in this life that we don't have an option for, and that's the way life is. And it's logically impossible to have that option because you can't choose to be born. You have to be born in order to make that choice. We're born into a system, but here's a system which God has given us the greatest possible option he can give us. He's created us and given us these things and said, just trust, believe in me, follow me, and I will give you eternal life. That is not something to complain about. So to apply the tactics material to this, I would say, well, what do you mean by consent? Why does this make just? And if you consider that God has given us the greatest possible gift in eternal salvation, that is something to celebrate rather than to question.